Inspiration for the women's movements of today comes from the long history of empowered women leading revolutions. The women's suffrage movement began in 1848 in Seneca Falls, New York. Two of the empowered women who had important parts in this movement were Alice Paul and Jane Addams. Alice Paul was born on January 11, 1885 in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Growing up in a devoted Quaker family, Alice Paul was passionate about public service. Her mother was a member of the National American Women's Suffrage Association. As a child, Alice attended several meetings with her mother and learned about suffrage. However, it was not until she met Emmeline and Christabel Pankhurst that she truly became impassioned about women's suffrage. Alice was very proactive about her education. She attended multiple colleges and achieved her PhD in sociology from the University of Pennsylvania. She then moved to London and joined the militant suffrage group Women's Suffrage Social and Political Union, the WSPU. While in England, she saw a speech by Christabel Pankhurst, which inspired her to become active in the movement for women's suffrage. From the Pankhursts, she learned about the practice of civil disobedience. Paul was on the front line of the suffrage movement. She was arrested 7 times and imprisoned 3 times for her marches and pickets. Paul was angered by President Wilson's lack of activism in the suffrage movement. Paul and her National Women's Party called Wilson out for neglecting democracy at home. The suffragists resorted to picket the White House in December of 1916. Wilson responded by attempting to silence the picketers through press manipulation and censorship, as well as multiple arrests and imprisonments. Alice Paul was not discouraged by the obstacles and arrests. Instead, she believed they were helping her movement gain publicity and momentum. Paul continued picketing the White House despite the ban Wilson placed on picketing. Eventually, Paul and other suffragists' work succeeded in influencing the president's decision to pass the 19th Amendment, finally giving women the right to vote. Active suffragists were not the only empowered women of the time period. Another important woman of the turn of the century was Jane Addams. Addams was born into a wealthy family. However, she suffered from poor health throughout the majority of her life, which kept her from pursuing her dreams of medicine. Like Alice Paul, she traveled to London in her 20s with her friend Ellen Gates Starr to study the settlement houses. A settlement house is an institution in an inner-city area providing educational, recreational, and other social services to the community. There, she became inspired to start her own settlement house near the west side of Chicago, Illinois. In 1889, she co-founded the Whole House with Ellen Gates Starr. It was a former mansion transformed into a haven for immigrant families. Here, she and other middle-class women volunteers, who were referred to as residents, taught citizenship classes and cared for the children of working mothers. Later on, Addams would expand the Whole House to include an art gallery, an employment bureau, and music, art, and theater classes. Both of these women left an impact on the women's movements of future decades. Alice and Jane have long withstanding legacies that live on today. After the passage of the 19th Amendment, Alice Paul shifted her interest to the Equal Rights Amendment. She additionally aided in adding protection for women in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. After her death in 1977, Paul was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. Swarthmore College, her alma mater, named a dormitory after her. England and the United States have created postage stamps honoring Paul and the work she did. In 1987, a group of women bought her papers and memorabilia to create an archive in her memory at Schlesinger Library in the Smithsonian. Jane Addams has left her legacy through print. She wrote several books concerning the Whole House and its impact on the community and nation. Since her death, she has been honored through dedications in Chicago, such as the Jane Addams Memorial Park and the Jane Addams College of Social Work. The Whole House she created still stands today. Additionally, she has been inducted into the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame and the Chicago Gay and Lesbian Hall of Fame. Pivotal advancements for women would not have been possible without the contributions of these empowered women.
Say it one more time.
Pivotal advancements for women.
Never mind.
Let me try. Pivotal advancements for women would not have been possible without the contributions of these empowered women.
Yay, we're done.